Bienvenidos a otro episodio de Catas en Vivo, otro lujo que tenemos esta mañana. Estamos con Randle, ¿no?
Sí.
Randle Johnson.
Randle Johnson. ¿Cómo se define Randle Johnson?
Bueno, trabaja hace mucho tiempo para Hess Collection y nació en Napa, así que nos va a hablar de su proyecto a cargo en Napa, Artesin, y bueno, también un poco la experiencia acá en Colomé. Vamos a probar un zinfandel y hablar del zinfandel de Napa. Well, thank you for receiving this morning,
Well, thank
this
you.
rainy morning.
This rainy morning in Buenos Aires.
Yes.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm sorry that I can't speak better Spanish, but I'm still learning.
Okay.
I'm learning more every day.
Okay.
When you started to make wines?
Well, I went to school first at the University of California at Davis in 1972 and through 74. So my first harvest in Napa Valley was in September of 1974. But I worked in the vineyard for a year. So my first wine making harvest was 1975.
Wow.
So
You know a lot about all the story about Napa, how you
All the changes.
yes, all the changes, big changes in Napa.
Absolutely. That's very true. And then I started with Mr. Hess in 1983.
1983.
O sea, está con el señor Hess desde el año 83. Casi 30 años.
That was the
Almost
first.
30 years.
Yes.
28. 28.
28. That was the first project of Hess, the Napa.
That's correct. That was our first wine project. And then we started Bodega Colomé, or we purchased Bodega Colomé in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And my first cosecha was 2002.
You, when you study, you were expecting to come to Argentina to make wine or to...
No clue.
No.
When you study, you know anything about Argentina?
Or about Malbec?
Well, I knew from my schooling that Argentina was a big wine country and had one of the largest consumptions and productions in the world, for sure. But I didn't really know Malbec, and I certainly did not know Torrontés. I didn't know very much about the specific wines.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first time I made Torrontés was in 2002. I'd read about it, did a little research, but I made it like one would make a Riesling, kind of cold fermentation, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Yes, it's one of the iconic Torrontés in Argentina, the Colomé Torrontés, since was the first time. But so you work in the 83 till now. You're still working in Napa.
Oh yes, yes.
And you make the two vintages. Also,
Yeah,
always?
I have two vintages. I'm here now in the end of March for the vintage at Bodega Colomé. Tomorrow I go to Colomé for 2 months.
2 months.
And
2
then
months there.
2 months
from now.
in Colomé. I leave about the 15th of May. And then, of course, I have my own Artisan and Hess Collection vintage in September and October.
Mm-hmm. And you also collaborate with Australia or South Africa, or no, because
Well,
it's the same time, the vintage?
I do a little collaboration with South Africa, a little tasting, but we send samples in the mail. I don't really go there. I've only been to our project once in South Africa. And I've been to our big winery in Australia once as well. But my main focus is getting Colomé up and running and doing well, which I think we have done pretty well at.
Well, what do you think about all the changes in the wine industry in Argentina? Because your first vintage here was in 2002, but now I think from 2002 to now we changed a lot.
Oh yes.
In the wine, in the style.
9 years, and we changed a lot.
Yes. Well, actually, my first experience in wine here in Argentina was 1996, because I came as a consultant for Bodega Norton
From Norton.
Yeah, and I worked with the whole winemaking and viticulture staff.
With Jorge
at
Riccitelli,
Jorge Riccitelli and Carlos Tizio.
Carlitos Tiz.
Yeah,
Mandanos un
and
saludo.
hi Carlos, and Horacio Bazan, who was the viticulturist at the time, and the three of us. I called them the Three Musketeers, and they were very sharp, very technical, but and made really great wine. So I helped them start with a small barrel program because small oak cooperage did not come to Argentina until
in the middle of 19 was the time.
the mid 90s.
Yes.
So I helped them with that, and they came to visit me in California, and we had a very good working relationship. But yes, you're right. There's been many changes in the last decade. In Colomé, we're learning more about our soils, our microclimates. We have 4 fincas now in the Calchaquí Valley, and we're growing in volume and a little bit more in sophistication. We know which varieties do well in which microclimates. But we still have one big experiment, and that is at Altura Maxima.
Altura máxima, el viñedo más alto del mundo.
So we know that Malbec will do well there, and we know that Torrentes will do well there. But the other varieties we have planted, we're still feeling our way. Syrah, Merlot, Sauvignon Blanc, we're not sure yet.
Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir.
Oh, that's right, for sure. Pinot Noir and Chardonnay too.
And how? What can you say about the soil of Altura Maxima? Because I saw that there are a lot of stones, and how this will be for the grapes.
Vines love rocks. Vines do not need very much soil. But in fact, if you have a very rocky profile that goes deep, you have to be careful that your roots don't try to go to China, as we say. Because when roots go to China, the top of the vine is equal to the roots.
Yes.
And you get too much vigor. So actually, stony soils, we have to be very careful and control the vigor.
Okay. So, we're going to taste a zinfandel.
How can you define the style of the zinfandel variety for our viewers?
Well, Zinfandel is a wonderful variety. It's called the California grape, even though it's originally from Croatia. And it came to the United States in the early 1800s as actually a table grape. And it was grown in glass houses for the the wealthy people of Boston and New York wanted fresh fruit on the table, and they were used to having grapes. So and the climate, of course, in northeast United States is not conducive to Vitis vinifera, and so they had to grow the grapes in greenhouses. And then when the gold rush was over in 1854, California realized that now we could grow grapes in the United States. So they wrote home or back to the East Coast, please send us grapes. And Zinfandel was one of the very first, and the Mission grape, which you
And
call
the Mission, yes, País.
País,
Or
Criolla,
yes.
Grande came to California. So it became known as the California grape, but it's very spicy. It always has a little bit of nutmeg, cinnamon, and black pepper.
And a lot of red fruit.
Yes, very boysenberry, raspberry, maybe sometimes a little pomegranate. But it's a very bright and forward aroma profile.
I think it's clean, it's bright, it's very fresh on the nose.
Yes, and the few people that I've tasted with this on this varietal yesterday, everybody here in Buenos Aires seems to like it. It's
It's not the alcohol always is a little bit higher than the meat for Napa, no? But it's very fruity. I think that the fruit really shows in the wine and the spices.
Well, I've worked with Zinfandel for 25 years now, and I'm trying to keep the alcohol lower. I pick the grapes of lower sugar, and I want it to be varietally correct. And I keep the oak in the background and express this very bright varietal character. I want consumers to be able to smell the wine and instantly recognize it as Zinfandel.
I love first because it's different for us.
Yes, it's different.
For us, it's different, but I think it had a very well balance with the oak. The oak is on the back.
No oak monster.
No oak monster, como dice nuestro amigo, el monstruo de la madera. ¿Bien? It's a very good explosion of fruit on the palate.
The acidity also is very correct in the mouth, and it's not has a huge body. It's like medium body.
And if you have to define it, can we say this is a typical high quality Zinfandel?
Yes, you can. It's very what I call classic Zinfandel. It's the kind of Zinfandel California made in the 80s and early 90s. Then all of a sudden, people decided to make it in what we call the black fruit camp, and they let it hang too long on the vine, and the wines got more jammy and it lost that fresh, bright character. So I'm trying to bring the style back to the late 80s and mid 90s as a food wine too.
You're a guy of the 80s.
Yes. But it isn't just that. I mean, I make many other wines in the black fruit camp, but I feel that for the correct style of Zinfandel, it needs to be made in the red fruit camp.
And with artisan other wines, you made a...
yes, for example, a black fruit variety that I'm very passionate about is Petit Syrah.
Petit Syrah.
And you call it, I think, Durif here in Argentina.
And the news is we can find this wine in Argentina now.
Yes.
Yes.
Because Colomé import all the wine from his collection.
And the price?
And the price, querida amiga? 160 pesos al público. 160 pesos al público y está más que está buenísimo.
Para un zinfandel de Napa.
Para un vino de afuera de alta calidad son $40. $40. Very nice.
So you make Petit Syrah
and Zinfandel, but I also make for the United States. I make Bonarda, but we call it in the United States Charbono.
Charbono.
It's exactly the same variety we've done the DNA.
We would like to taste Charbono here. Bonarda and Charbono together.
Sure. Well, next time we're together, I'll be sure to bring one.
Yes, please. And with Chardonnay also you work?
No, because this is an heirloom and heritage varietal brand. So I do Carignan, actually.
Carignan.
Charbono. I do Mourvèdre. And I'm doing a white wine now from Portugal, the Verdelo.
Yes, Verdelo. So, not classic grapes, not mainstream grapes.
Not mainstream, not Cab, not Chardonnay.
More nerdy,
yeah,
nerdy,
more, yeah. we call them the little weirdos.
Yeah, the weirdo.
Well, you know, in the United States we have this expression, ABC wines.
Yes.
Anything but Cabernet and Chardonnay. So it's a very millennial concept.
And I have another question. Which wine from Argentina are your favorites? Not
beside
Colomé.
Oh dear. Well, of course, I love Argentine Malbec. Many brands.
We need names. Brands. Names.
Okay. Well. I like the Catena line, the Catena Alta, the Catena Zapata. I like Achavel Ferrer.
Yesterday I tasted Zapata.
Well, in Pinot Noir, I love Chakra.
Okay.
Nieto Centenario.
Cenetiner.
It's
Yeah.
difficult to
Yeah, it's
Nieto Centenario.
for us gringos, that's a difficult word. Let's see, what else do I like? Oh, well, of course, I love Bodega Norton wines.
Well, you drink a lot of Argentinian wine.
Yes,
I
love all the wines that come from Clota Siete because
Claro, siete, yes.
my good friend works there,
Carlos Ticio.
Carlos Tizio.
Hola, Carlos.
Hola, Carlos. Sure. So yeah, it covers. And of course, I like many of the wines from the Calchaquí Valley. I like the Nanny biodynamic
Yes,
wines.
exactly.
Humanao is our next door neighbor at
Yes,
Colome.
yes,
I love Nestor Ramirez.
Yes,
and
Nestor is a
wonderful man.
very important person on the Calchaquí Valley.
Actually, exactly. And I like Finca de Nubes, the
Sí,
Jose
Finca de Nubes.
Munier's wines too.
Hola, José Luis.
Jose Luis, hola. So yeah, that's about covers it, I think.
You passed the exam.
I passed the examination for Argentina. That's great.
Okay.
So thank you very, very much for this interview.
Well, I'm
hope
cheers.
Hope to see you
soon.
with the carbono.
Charbon.
Charbon.
Absolutely. I'll bring it for sure next
Have
time.
a very nice vintage. in
Well, thank you.
Argentina.
Y lo recomendamos mucho que se atrevan al Artesin zinfandel. Lo importa la gente de Colomena, Argentina, y por 160 pesos lo pueden conseguir en vinotecas especializadas. Seguramente no lo van a vender en cualquier lado. Van a elegir bien con quién.
Muchas gracias y nos vemos en el próximo episodio.
Hasta la próxima cata.
Cheers.